Hello folks, in this guide we are covering all 31 stash locations within Garbage. There are 29 standard and 2 DLC stashes in total. Mixed in between these stash locations are a handful of unmarked stashes and large containers that are located conveniently close by. I've tried to make this guide as simple and straightforward as possible. The issue is, some of the stashes do have randomized names. If you are looking for a specific stash, then I've separated the map into segments. Click your segment's timestamp and there will be additional timestamps there for individual stashes. Otherwise, I'm going through two separate routes that will cover all of the stashes. Both routes begin from the Slagheap itself for convenience sake, so if you would like to, or if you're unsure as to which stashes you may have missed, then feel free to follow along. As a final side note, some of these stashes may require first finding the hint in order for them to be spawned in. Other than that, let's get started. Our first route will cover the north part of the map. Just before heading out, we will very quickly collect all of the stashes in and around the Slagheap itself. First, from the main entrance, head up this ladder, head up the next ladder, and then we can find an unmarked stash right here. From here, head on over to this crane and begin heading up until reaching the second crane. Try to be hasty when traversing the junk piles as they will stack rads relatively quickly. Cautiously make your way up this crane and just off the left hand side is this metal beam. Carefully drop down to access the stash. From here, simply jump over to the roof and begin climbing these ladders. There's some loose loot up here also. Next, drop down the scaffolding here, but do be careful not to fall too far. Heading down this ladder, we can find an additional stash and some other goodies here too. Next, climb back up the ladder and begin continuing forward. Drop down onto this scaffolding and follow it around to find yet another stash. From here, we simply want to make our way back down to solid ground and get ready to head on out. Our first location is a little bit northeast of the Slagheap, marked just here on the map. There is a side mission available via the bartender at the Slagheap, which does tie in with this location. It doesn't have any bearing on whether the stash is here or not though. The stash can be found at the center of this location, underneath this ramp. Next, we want to head on over to specifically this location marked here on the map. There is a stash and unmarked stash here. Fair warning, this location is tied in with the main story. It is advised to progress the main story before collecting these stashes. Simply climb these pipes and follow them down. Once reaching the building, head inside, and inside Roosevelt's room, we can find this personal stash right here. In the room next door, we can find an additional stash sitting just inside of this locker. Next, head north to this checkpoint here on the map. First, head inside the main building itself and we can find this stash behind these boxes. Next, at the front door of the building, we can climb this wall, the door, and then the roof itself to access the second stash. After this, we want to head far west towards this chemical anomaly field here. Using this bridge, we can access the center island, and the stash is found at the center of this pile of boxes. Once done here, head back over the bridge and find an unmarked rucksack in this container. Next, we want to take a short walk over to this underpass right here. An important note here is this stash will not be revealed until once progressing the side quests available via the vendor within Slagheap. When retrieving the package we're tasked with finding, we will meet this NPC within this room. If we spare him, then he will give us the location, and thus this stash will be revealed.
Sure.
For our final stash location on this route, we want to head towards this marker here on the map. Once here, head up onto these pipes and follow them until reaching this rooftop. The stash can be found on top with some very nice extras. Enjoy. For our second route, we are covering the south side of the map. To start, we want to head for this marker just a little bit south of the Slagheap. Once here, we want to climb the stairs to this concrete structure here. Once on the roof, simply navigate over to this rooftop to find a stash and some additional goodies. After this, head on down and enter the main building marked just here. Be careful of the hole in the middle of the floor. Head upstairs, outside, and over onto the roof to find this stash. After this, head down the hole. Head through this doorway and find the stash right here. Next, we want to head back out and over to this marker right here. Inside this building, you will find a ladder. Take this ladder and continue down the corridor. A word of warning, there is an anomaly you will need to push through and an enemy on the other side. Once you've dealt with this, the stash can be found right here. Head on out of the gap of the wall and over to this marker here. Head inside this building, and the best way for me to describe the following locations is to just show you. A word of warning, if you have any artifacts equipped, the anomaly will track you. However, if you unequip them, then it will make traversing this section much easier. Once done with this building, head on over to this corner of the compound. Here we can climb this ladder to the roof. Drop into this hole for this secret stash room. Heading just over the way to these radioactive tanks. We can climb this ladder to find the stash just here. A quick side note, if you do get stuck at the top of the ladder, just crouch and then jump to wriggle your way out. From here, we head far east to this location marked on the map. Once here, we can enter the back of this building by jumping on over. Once inside, the stash can be found in this back room. An additional unmarked stash can also be found just here, behind the counter at the front of the shop. Once done, head almost directly south to this facility on the map. Enter the southernmost entrance to find a key on the reception desk. Take the key downstairs to unlock the basement. Within the basement is this corpse. Loot the corpse for the key and head on out the basement from the opposite side. Head upstairs and follow the corridor until reaching these orange doors. Once looting this room, head upstairs to the roof via this concrete debris. Before continuing along the rooftop, drop down into this small room here for an additional stash. Now carefully head back round to the concrete debris from before and head back up onto the roof. Navigating through the anomalies, head towards the opposite side and find this stash in the corner. Breaking this lock makes for a quicker exit. Our next location is west of the last, marked just here on the map. The stash can be found just over here, hiding behind this green truck. Once ready, head on over to the pig pens marked here on the map. Head inside this pen on the right. Head on down to the far end, and on the left-hand side we can find this stash hidden amongst these boxes. Our next location is just on the opposite side of town, marked here on the map. Before accessing the stash, head into this house and retrieve the key that will be inside of this television. With the key in hand, you can now open the door to the garage just outside of the house. Fair word of warning, brace yourself for an interesting fight. Next, we want to head a little bit west towards the cluster of helis here on the map. Once here, we can navigate through the anomaly field towards this small yellow container to find the stash sitting inside. Next, head a little bit north of the anomaly field to this cave entrance right here. Head into the cave and keep to the side here. Next to this corpse is a small opening. Head through here to find a stash and some other goodies. Now head back out of the small opening and proceed out of the tunnel via the opposite exit. The next two locations are unmarked stashes. They are mostly on the way to our final location anyway, so feel free to pick these up. The first is within this compound right here. Downstairs and in this corner, you can walk down this corridor to find a stash at the end, along with some other loot. The next location is west of this facility at this tunnel entrance right here. Head into the tunnel and navigate through the anomalies right down to the bottom. In the back right corner, there is a safe with some uncommon loot inside. Our next location is just a little bit northeast, marked right here on the map. I did save the best stash until last. This is very often overlooked and most people do miss the important gear inside. I'll leave this as a nice little surprise for anyone following along. Now, I don't own the DLC, but I am very much aware of the stash locations. These stashes are tied to a side quest only available with the DLC. If you haven't progressed the side quest to reveal these stashes, then it is likely that they won't have spawned into existence yet. The first DLC journalist stash can be located within the maze marked right here on the map. From the center of the maze, head in this direction and the stash can be found hidden amongst these vehicles here. The second DLC journalist stash can be located in the south of Garbage, marked here on the map. From the center of the camp, simply head into this van and find the stash right here. That's it for all the garbage stash locations, folks. I do have a range of guides out currently, and I am working on many more. I will be covering all artifacts, stashes, and gear for all zones over the coming weeks and quite possibly months, as well as additional guides and content, so do feel free to stick around. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and until next time, peace.